So normally right now you'd be watching a video on the brand new Marvel Snap card, Bruce Banner. But today is Christmas Eve, and more importantly, it's my wife's birthday. And I wasn't about to miss 3 or 4 hours in the middle of the day to make a video on Bruce Banner of all cards. So instead, I recorded this video ahead where we're going to take a look back at an entire year's worth of thumbnails. All of my like custom creations here for all of my Marvel Snap videos, combining often 2 Marvel Snap cards into one to make some kind of cool new variation of a character. I was going to walk through kind of my thought process and, you know, how I made them, and tips and tricks and insights, and how they performed or underperformed, and my favorites or the least favorites, and the hardest or the easiest, and all those kind of fun little things. You guys have been asking for this sort of video for a really long time, so this seemed like a good day to fill in. Now, if you're waiting for a Bruce Banner video, I will be back tomorrow. I'll stay up late after her birthday and after she goes to bed and record it. Despite it being Christmas, we'll still get a video out to you soon. But for now, let's instead go through an entire year of thumbnails. This is just going to be kind of a stream of consciousness, thoughts that appear as I see each of these. Some of these I haven't seen in like 12 months or something. So it's hopefully going to be fun and enlightening, and maybe teach a little bit about my thought process for like YouTube and the graphic design side of things sometimes, just the cool factor of these various cards. And I will say too, these are going to be in no particular order. I couldn't get a good sort on these. In fact, we're going to start here. I think this is like an alphabetical order. So this is a 0 deck at Z. And you can see here, this combines Wong and Zabu. Oh, maybe Zabu is the Z too for this one. Which is pretty boring, right? Like, this is not the most exciting looking thumbnail. Like, it is distinct, you know, Zabu's animal head on a human body. I'm sure the furries out there did indeed love this one, but probably wasn't the best performing thumbnail if I had to guess. Like, this was, by the way, back when Zabu was an on reveal card that like wasn't based on your deck, but it was based on your hand, if you're confused why this existed at all. So, you know, you could play Zabu and like get all of your 4-cost cards in hand to be 0 instead of this big crazy combo turn, which I remember being pretty interesting. As far as insights on this one, I think this is a bit of an older thumbnail. I don't know if I did a good lighting match on this one. It does seem okay, because like you can see the like lighting, the edge lighting here on Wong's arm is kind of a blue-white, and that's also carried through on Zabu's head. I wonder if I recolored this to make it match, but it doesn't really match the background lighting that well. I probably gave this a color shift to purple so that the green and the yellow would both pop as high contrast colors against purple, like you really want it to jump out. And I definitely applied like a flat filter, so it's mostly purple, which is definitely good. There is a really nice contrast when you look at this from far away. It does jump out at you quite well. But nowadays I might go in and rematch this blue edge lighting to purple just to give it that extra cohesive element. Same for this side of the edge lighting being this kind of like orangey red or whatever. That doesn't necessarily line up super well either. So there might have been some tweaks I would make nowadays. That just depends on time a little bit too. If it's like a Tuesday video where I'm really rushing out the new card, I wouldn't do that right away, but I would come back later and update the thumbnail with that fix after pushing the video live as fast as possible, while still getting a pretty cool thumbnail out at kind of a first pass. So yeah, this is another Zabu deck. These are definitely like in reverse alphabetical order. That's fine. So this one's interesting, right? Because it's not like merging 2 cards together. It's probably because Zabu is kind of hard to make work, like I talked about in that last video. You can just kind of stick his head on anything. It's like, oh, I could stick his head on, you know, Scarlet Spider here and call it a day. But it's like, it doesn't really sell it. I thought this was more interesting because both Gwenpool and Scarlet Spider kind of have a pose that makes it look like they're riding something. So I kind of weaved both of these together into like riding Zabu, and there's some really cool little details like Gwenpool's hand interacting with like the edge of Zabu, and kind of looks like she's grabbing onto his fur and stuff. Little things like that can add that extra little layer. I suspect this also did not perform especially well, both because of the like deck itself, but also these kinds of thumbnails with multiple characters don't often read as clearly. Like, I definitely scaled up Zabu to be as full frame as possible, but sometimes these don't have that pop that's necessary. Moving on, this is just an Iceman recolor of Bishop, which these are pretty easy to do. I will say one thing I don't like about this that jumps out at me right now in hindsight is like this little ice wall thing that he's standing on, which is probably from Iceman, it has this much darker outer line. Like this outline is like a really dark blue, not quite black, whereas Bishop himself has a kind of lighter outline. That would be really hard to change. You'd have to go in and do all the line work separately. Like I'm not surprised I didn't fix that, but maybe I could have pulled this outline down into a lighter blue to make it match. I can see that I also mixed in some ice chunks into Bishop's like glowing orb energy stuff, which is a pretty nice little detail. I like that. That's kind of funny. These sort of recolors, these like flat recolors, like Iceman, there's a lot of these for like Silver Surfer that we do as well. They do jump out pretty well, like they're eye-catching. I do think they're kind of boring and easy and almost like cop-outs a little bit, but if it works, it works, and it definitely tells the story as well. So it is sometimes nice to have these, so I don't have to spend as long making them. Also, really good contrast in the background here. That blue on orange is a classic pairing that jumps a ton. So this one's pretty recent. This is Adam Warlock and Kang together. So basically Kang's head on Adam Warlock's body, Adam Warlock recolored to match Kang's colors, and given Kang's like energy orbs on his fists. I thought this video would do better, and part of it's probably the thumbnail. It's just like not super obvious that this is Adam Warlock and Kang together. It's just also kind of boring, just like a few colors. Like I think it looks fairly well executed. The lighting on the Kang head is like different than the Adam Warlock. That's just sort of the artist, like they just done by different artists. This is like heavier blacks and stuff. It's really hard to fix that and tweak it, so sometimes there's a bit of a mismatch there. I also remember the kind of green cloak having an inside that was green. I couldn't match it exactly to the green of the body because it just looked like too much like a big blob of dark green. So I tried to make it this like teal green, which kind of reflected the same thing Adam Warlock was doing. But it just, I don't know, it doesn't read super well to me. But this is one of those where it was like the right choice for the video, and it just kind of had to make it work. Background's also a bit muddy here, all these rocks and stuff. So I don't know, some of these just like they don't go as well as you want, but you just don't have a lot of choices or good options. So you just sort of go with what's there and hope for the best. And I would say this is not the best. Like, it's just okay, nothing wrong with it, just didn't convey the video as much as I want. So this is actually, I think these are kind of the same two sort of videos. This is both of these building the worst possible Arishem deck. This one though combines Rhino recolored to red and holding the moon with Arishem's head. I remember this one being pretty tough to get like a good color match. Like Arishem's like this weird rusty orange and red that's hard to work with. So I did my best. I think it looks okay. If you zoom in on it, it's clear that like the Arishem head's like too big and blown up, but that's just how it has to go. It's really small in the base art. One detail I don't know if people noticed on this, I gave the black elements of Rhino's shading here, like everything that's shaded, it has a starry background to add an extra like cosmicness to it. I don't know that it like comes across super well or reads well, but it was a fun little extra detail, and I know that this video did pretty well long term especially, so I think this was an okay reception as far as I can tell for something like this. I think people commented positively on it as well. It's not like my favorite, but still did pretty well. Moving on, this is a Wiccan Magneto pairing. I remember not being particularly happy with this one, and looking at it now in hindsight, still not particularly happy with it. The big problem was like the shininess of Wiccan's body, like this red. When I say shiny, it was like super high contrast in the artwork, which just, I don't know, it was hard to convey the redness because there's just so much black in the mix. And like you can pull out that black a little bit and like pull it down, lighten it, turn it to red and stuff. But it just looks weird, and it's just really hard. And there's all this like little tiny detailing too in Wiccan's costume. There's like this little ribbing and like striping elements, which it's just so hard to work with. It didn't work well. So a lot of weirdness in this one. Like I do kind of like the mix of like the electrical energy from Wiccan and the kind of pink energy from Magneto. And there's some cool like mechanical like metal bits flying around and stuff. So it has a good energy to it. But I don't know, the coloring just doesn't do as much as I'd like. I remember Wiccan in general being kind of an annoying card to work with. I think we made a few Wiccan videos. So here's Fenris Wolf. This is kind of in that Zabu vein. Fenris with various cards that destroy things to enable the Fenris, and the play on here too is that he is huge. This is where the text kind of pulls into like making him look huge by putting normal sized characters around him that are small. I do like this one better than normal for these because like Fenris is still so big that he really feels full frame and he kind of carries it on his own. But then you get the bonus as you like look in closer and say, oh, hey, okay, I see there's extra characters here. I do remember also I did some really fine tuning on like the lighting. Like Killmonger, you'll see has this purple edge lighting. I may need to like really zoom in so you can see that, I guess. He has this like pinkish purple edge lighting to match the background. That's not there normally. I recolored his like, I think it's like orange or something. His orange lighting, I had to recolor it to make it match, which was a lot of extra work, but that's the sort of stuff I love doing. I mean, I don't know if I even went to that trouble for Gladiator or Shang-Chi, but they're not as obvious with their edge lighting, so probably why. So yeah, this was like not that hard really, other than that little lighting trick, because it just kind of shrunk down the characters, but ultimately I think it did really well. I think it was a well-performing video. So this is Beast and Sasquatch together, which this one was actually pretty easy. This is literally just Sasquatch turned blue and given a yellow belt. An X-Men belt. Which in hindsight, this belt looks kind of bad. I'm sure it was in a hurry. I bet this was like a Tuesday video or something. Maybe, I don't know. Also, the edge of this belt, like I feel like this should be vertical. It looks weird to me. It was really hard to like recreate this belt. I remember I almost like hand painted this, I think, because there wasn't any good like obvious belt image files from like other cards that were like the right shape and you know perspective and stuff. So I just like basically hand painted this, which is probably why it looks so bad. I mean, you know, at a thumbnail scale, it probably looks fine, and it definitely is bright enough to convey the idea. I will say, I don't know why I didn't crop this weird snow here. Like, I should have just cut that off at the edge of the card. That would have looked totally fine. Looks strange over here. I will say, I think this video underperformed, if I remember, at least based on expectations, and it's probably because people just literally thought this, I bet, was just Beast. It's hard to almost tell that this is not just like a Beast variant instead of like a Sasquatch. Like, obviously it's the base Sasquatch art, but when you're just like scrolling through on YouTube, I don't know if it's like a dramatic enough difference from Beast. I remember this with like Werewolf by Night, a previous example we might look at as well, where I don't know that it looked enough, like different enough to be interesting. So this is War Machine and Infinite together. I thought this was pretty cool. I remember liking this one. The coloring is like a little stretched. It's sometimes hard to recolor certain things, just like contrast and stuff. But I think the helmet's a pretty good fit on here. Like, it, you know, it has that same nice blue we tried to match. It's an organic fit. War Machine's actually one of my favorite characters to do. I'm sure we're gonna have a few War Machines. There's just a lot of little stuff to work with on War Machine, and I think this art's really cool. And I actually have always really liked War Machine, the character, as well. Even as a kid, I really loved War Machine. So the Infinite kind of aesthetic did match really nicely as well. So I think this video did okay. I'm sure I could do better on the coloring today, but still. Here's another Infinite, but this time with Valentina. Every time Valentina's in a thumbnail, it's just garbage, dude. People hate it. She's just like the most boring looking character, I guess. So we gave her the Infinite helmet again. I remember there being some work on this because, like, I don't know, I feel like I had to like recolor the outside edges, or I don't remember. There's something to this. It's like, you know, to make her look like she's inside the helmet, you have to add like a translucent layer over it. Otherwise, it looks like her head's just in front of the helmet, so you can see kind of some like little, you know, translucent elements here was probably the hard part. And then, I mean, just a slight recolor on the gun and stuff. I don't think this did well, but Valentina's not the most interesting card for videos. So this is Ultron and Onslaught together. So this is really just a recolor to match him up to Onslaught. I think I remember when I made this, I was like originally going to try to give him like the Onslaught shoulder pads and stuff, but there was just none that lined up from a perspective standpoint. So I just went for coloring instead. This one I remember being super boring, and I was like, man, this looks awful. And then I added these little lightning strikey elements, right? This like little energy crackle. I don't even remember if that comes from Ultron or Onslaught or from another character. I don't know where I got that, but it really brought it to life. It added that just little flare and flourish that made it seem like intentional and detailed as opposed to just a lazy color edit. And I think that really did the difference. And I seem to recall this video doing pretty well too. I think Ultron tends to do well in thumbnails. That said, this thumbnail, dude, I literally remember I was on a stretch where Ultron was doing really well in thumbnails. And I was like, dude, Ultron is so sick in thumbnails. I got to keep making Ultron thumbnails. And I tried to combine Ultron and Alioth, which Alioth is like the worst card to do a thumbnail with because he's just like a cloud shape. How do you how do you make that work? And I did some craziness here with, like, you know, I basically cut out different elements of the Alioth cloud and like layered them over different elements of Ultron using a clipping mask. So like, for instance, I cut out Ultron's head and took a portion of Alioth's cloud and clipped it over Ultron's head. So you can see like there's a border of the cloud elements like between the chin and the body, right? And like the arm and shoulder are different than and I like adjusted the lighting. So like I made this arm darker than the torso so that you could still get the like breakup of the different body parts and sort of identify the body parts, right? Like you can kind of see the knee here where that edge is, so that it's not just like an amorphous nebulous cloud, but you can kind of make up the shapes and stuff. And I remember like trying to pick parts of the cloud that like, okay, this has a curve that's kind of reminiscent of a shoulder or whatever, and I was like trying to like spin them and align them so they all kind of looked appropriate or whatever. Is it good? I don't know. I don't still hate it, but it definitely lacks some elegance. Like it looks a little haphazard and sloppy. I'm sure I did the same thing with the energy, by the way, because I was like, dude, it needs a flourish. It needs more. I'm not sure I like the stones so much, particularly this one like covering his eye. I don't know why I did that. Maybe there was something weird there I was trying to hide, or maybe it just landed there randomly or whatever. So I don't know, man. I remember this video not doing as well as I wanted compared to the other Ultrons. It was probably a thumbnail thing, but I don't know. I still learned a lot making this. I think there were some cool developments around it. I'm just not sure it conveys super well at like thumbnail scale. It's also just kind of dark as I look at it over there on the smaller screen. Okay, this is Super Skrull and Living Tribunal. So I just kind of went with like fully green, did the green Skrull face inside the Tribunal hat. This right now really bugs me how his forehead looks like it's way too low. Like the top of his head's way up here, Regis. Why does his forehead look like it ends about here? I don't know. I don't like that. I would have probably changed that. I would have bumped the head up or like, I don't know, done something differently. It's okay. But I also probably wouldn't have given him the weird cosmic thing in his hand. I don't think that's necessary. I think, you know, it's Tribunal because there's no neck. Like, I think that conveys enough that you don't really need the cosmic element there. I don't know. It just looks messy to me now. But, you know, I like the thing arm and the you know, we still get some elements to the scroll side of it. You still get the chest icon too of the Tribunal, that glow. I do remember the shoulders here being weird. Like, you know, if you just like cut off the head of Super Skrull, it looks weird, right? Like there's supposed to be a neck there and stuff. So I think I merged the shoulders of Tribunal together with the body of Super Skrull. You can kind of see here, it's like this part, for some reason this doesn't line up well here. I would absolutely clean that up in hindsight. Like that's messy. But you know, that's how we got that hack. I don't really love that this is just like solid green. I don't know. It's not my favorite, but I do remember this doing really well. I think it was great. Oh, dude, this video tanked so hard, dude. This is actually this is a surprisingly elegant thumbnail, and no one realized it. I don't think. It just looks like Valentina. It just looks too much like Valentina. It's actually Valentina and Malekith together. And if you zoom in, you can see like her face is split in half like Malekith, half purple, half blue. And her costume is also split in half, like half red, half blue, just like Malekith. But you don't even notice that looking at it from far away. It just kind of looks like lighting. It almost looks like, you know, the pink stuff is like turning this red from the lighting, and the blue is just what color she normally is. And then the gun has like Malekith's energy blast coming out of it, and her eyes have like Malekith's glow and stuff. But ultimately, it's just too subtle, right? Like, it's just not dramatic enough. Another Valentina video. And this video has been one of my worst performing videos of the last year. I've seen a little bit of a trend down in general in videos over the last couple months since Pokemon Pocket and Marvel Rivals and stuff. But this one underperformed even harder. So, I don't know. I just think you got to stay away from Valentina. She's too boring, and you got to make it cooler. I will say, one thing I haven't talked about yet much at all here is, like, names of this and stuff, because the art's more interesting. But I do often try to sync up the colors of the secondary cards. Like, these are both kind of white colored characters, right? You got the white costume and the white costume, so that they're like either not distracting or pull in a complementary color from the main art. You'll often notice that this one, you have like green and red, and you have like green and red. Sometimes you don't, because you just have to pick the most interesting cards, right? But in some cases you may notice that. So this is Shang-Chi and Man-Thing together. This actually looks really cool. I think this is super well done. And the like poses on these characters actually fit surprisingly well. I remember this being actually a pretty simple one that looks super cohesive, but it's just because like the arms are in the same positions and stuff as Shang-Chi and Man-Thing. So literally just pop on his head, pop on his arms, and it's job done. I think they even had a decent lighting match as well. So it was like no real tweaks necessary to this one, but I think it looks pretty good. It's nice that it lights up. So here is Man-Thing and Supergiant. This one is not so easy. And I mean, I don't think it looks bad, but at the same time, like, you know, the head doesn't really fit that well in the hood. It's sometimes hard to place in hoods. And I know I just took a bunch of random, like, I had to cut out all these, like, little different elements of Man-Things, like, you know, little grass and mushrooms and stuff, and just kind of tried to put it in places that made sense. But some of it looks weird. Like, I don't know, this is a weird little, why is this thing here on her shoulder? It looks fine at scale, I guess, but I don't know, not the most elegant, but sometimes it's just hard. Like, you just don't have two interesting characters that go together, or they don't fit together, or you need to convey like a certain, like, you know, maybe sometimes a card got buffed and you have to include that card, and it's like, gosh, I gotta find a combo with this card that's so difficult. So not everyone's gonna be a home run, but you do your best. Okay, so this is Wong and Hazmat together. We gave Wong a yellow shirt. He's got Hazmat's hands, obviously. These are like really skinny hands from Hazmat. She's a girl. And then you got Hazmat's helmet, but with Wong's face added in. This is pretty boring. I think the lighting's bad too. It looks like I did a tweak on his suit to make it yellow, but I didn't tweak the lighting. So the lighting got adjusted into like this weird dark orangey red, which looks bad. I guess this is probably a pretty old one. I know I've done Hazmat hands before where I fattened the fingers. I think I did with like Luke Cage. I made the fingers fatter because it looks so weird on Luke Cage. It kind of looks okay on Wong, I would say. Not too dramatically skinny, but still a little bit off. But yeah, this looks pretty bad. I don't think I would have done that these days. This is Angel and Thanos combined. Thanos is a good one because you can just kind of take a glove and plop it on, and it often looks sort of okay. And then, you know, sometimes you recolor the face to look like Thanos a bit here. I even had to draw on these chin lines manually to give him the classic Thanos chin lines. Had to do the eye glow, recolor the costume to that classic Thanos, like blue and gold. I actually think this looks pretty great. I think this video did okay. I remember that this was supposed to be a Misery themed video, but Misery is like super hard to work with, impossibly hard to work with, because there's just the pose is super weird for her base art, and like the hair is awkward on other stuff. The face is like not like easily identified. Like if you try to put that face inside something else, it doesn't look good. The like crazy color patterns of the white and red together, it's just impossible. So I remember pivoting into Angel because Angel was still pretty interesting as an unexpected element and easier to make into a Thanos hybrid. Here's another Thanos, this time Malekith. So this one's literally just Thanos' glove on Malekith. That's another one of those super easy ones. It looks like give some of Malekith's energy glow around the glove. You can see this kind of pink lightning or whatever from Malekith. That looks pretty sweet, but not too complicated there. Thanos again. We're in the like Thanos. These are all named Thanos, so this is gonna be a bunch of Thanos. Thanos and Wiccan here again, given the blue and gold treatment. You can see a lot of the detailing in Thana and Wiccan's costume kind of makes it hard. I have to like go in and manually cut out all of these little elements that I'm turning gold and the blue and then recolor those individually. Glove looks pretty good. I like when it's big like that. Again, same glowy eyes, same mouth. I do like these a lot worse than the last ones. I thought these looked less elegant. I think the Angel one was more recent. Probably got better at drawing on those little lines, but still looks pretty good. I don't remember if these did particularly well or not. Thanos and Mockingbird. So this, you'll notice, is a different glove, and this is not in the game. This gauntlet's not in the game. Had to go get this one from elsewhere just because like the perspective was weird. It's still not actually perfect on this. You should be able to see inside the glove a little bit more, but it's close enough that nobody notices. And this was a good like neutral glove that read pretty well. So it looked like the comic booky style of Marvel Snap. Again, face recolored. I did not do her chin. I bet this was an even older one. I was too lazy to do the chin. I remember recoloring her from blue to purple. I didn't do blue and gold. So it kind of went halfsies on this one, but still looks pretty good. The glove stands out a lot, so does some work. I have no idea if this did well, but probably because Mockingbird was so good. Okay, I remember this, dude. This is Nocturne and Spider-Man together. I kind of hate this. Like, I don't know. It looks too much like flannel. It doesn't look enough like Spider-Man, but I hand drew all of these lines. These are all hand-drawn lines. You can kind of tell they're not perfect by any means, and they don't really follow the shape and stuff. Yeah, it just doesn't look great, right? Like, yeah, he also put this spider on there. That looks okay. That part's fine. I just like her costume just doesn't fit Spider-Man's look well enough, you know? Like, I think the webbing looks good. That came out of a nice little spot on her hand and stuff, but yeah, it just looks like Ben Brode's flannel more than it looks like Spider-Man. So I don't know how I would have fixed that. This is an epic thumbnail, dude. This is just Black Panther with symbiote Spider-Man's chest logo on it and some webbing added. It's pretty simple, really. Shockingly, the symbiote Spider-Man pose fits Black Panther like perfectly. I barely had to tweak this at all. I think I maybe like adjusted the bottom so it fit his crotch a little bit better, but it like fits really well. Even the musculature seems to fit. It's not like totally perfect. You can see like the ab line kind of goes here and here. You know, some of that stuff you just have to let slide. It's like you can't tweak that well enough to make it look convincing. It's at a moment's notice, it's great. And you know, Black Panther already has a lot of symbiote Spider-Man design elements in it, the black costume and stuff. So you really just add the logo, you add the webbing, and it looks so sick. Do keep in mind, symbiote Spider-Man's webbing comes out of the top of his hands, as I recall. So I don't put it from the bottom of his hands like you would a normal Spider-Man. He's got those white patches. So little details like that I try to get rid of. I think that's right anyway. I hope so. I probably would have cut the leaves out of this now since he's in a city setting. I mean, there's a tree down there, so maybe it's okay. But this did really well. This was a really popular video. So here's M'Baku and symbiote Spider-Man together. M'Baku's really hard to work with. Just like this costume just doesn't really match the aesthetic style of almost anything else. So you can see I overlaid this like symbiote Spider-Man logo. This is clearly not the one from the character. This is like a different logo I grabbed probably from the game files somewhere else. It looks okay. I think it's fine. It does jump out pretty well at scale when looking at it from far away. Plop the symbiote Spider-Man head on it. Now this is always tough, right? Like Marvel Snap does lighting where their characters are, if they're like solid black costumes, they often give them this kind of blue lighting, which is common in comics as well, because solid black doesn't always read well. But it's sometimes hard to match that blue or make it look good with other stuff. As you can see here, I kind of tried to give this like blackish blue hue to the rest of the costume. I honestly think it looks okay. It's one of those where if I zoom in, it's bad. But like if I look at it from far away, it actually just reads pretty well. I think this did okay too. This is Silver Surfer and Samurai together. Just straight up recolor him to gray, white, or whatever. Often give the eyes that solid white treatment for like Silver Surfer. I kept his sword here. I don't know if it's normally green. I guess it probably is. Might have nowadays. I think I would have recolored that to look like the energy beams off Silver Surfer. I don't know why I didn't do that. Also, this background, I don't really know why it's red. It's giving me like Christmas vibes. It should have been more cosmic looking. I think I probably thought it was a contrast to the green, but I don't know. I don't really like the look of this. Also, it's like almost too zoomed in a little bit. There's no surfboard. There's like a million things I changed about this now. I don't think this is very good. I don't know. The gray is almost too gray too. You usually give it a little bit of like a magenta hue. So I don't know. I bet this is old and I just do it differently now. This is Black Swan and Spectrum. So it's basically Spectrum's body and coat and stuff with Black Swan's hair. Yeah, her head looks like a little too big to me now. Her hair is also just like enormous. It's okay. It looks fine, I think, but not very good. I don't know. I just kind of boring. I don't know what I would have done differently. It seems like this hair was probably really hard to work with because this hair is just so freaking big. Why is her hair so big? It looks silly to me now. I don't know. So this is Silver Surfer and Sage, and I like this one way better. Like literally everything I just talked about in the last one is done in this one, right? She's got the surfboard, number one. Also, I think I did custom shadows on these legs. It looks like I had to paint in these shadows maybe to make them match. She got a more like traditional cosmic background, not that weird red. And her elements, instead of being green, are that like cosmic Silver Surfer color, the kind of like pinky purple color, magenta or whatever. And her hue is also, she's like got a more pleasing shine to her. And I think I maybe even added some like shiny elements, it looks like too, to really shine her up. So this is just like 1,000 times better version of the same exact thing we just saw. It's funny that I'm like, you can see the evolution happening live. as I go through time. It's pretty cool. So this is Sunspot and Electro together. This is clearly for a max energy deck. We just did one of these as well. I like this fine. I just basically look like I took Electro's mask, put it on Sunspot, gave him Electro's like energy elements on his fists or whatever, and recolored him green a little bit to match Electro's like green and yellow coloring. I think it actually looks pretty good. Nice purple background, again, super contrasty on green and yellow. So that pops a ton. The energy gives it some depth and life. The mask is quite readable against the darker color of Sunspot's face. It's pretty nice, dude. I think it looks good. I think this video did fairly well too, as I recall. Okay, Storm and War Machine. This looks pretty sick, dude. Yeah, I like this a lot. War Machine's coloring, pretty natural match for Storm's like darker costume. Her head looks like it doesn't quite fit perfectly, but I bet it was really hard to like fit it in, nestle it there, and still make it readable and stuff. I do remember thinking the lightning coming out of the chest socket here looked really cool at the time, and I still think that looks really cool. It looks like I also gave it some specific spots, like coming out of the hole up here, maybe coming out of this thing here. So like the lightning treatment here is very well placed as far as I can tell. It even looks like it's kind of like hugging the leg here, so that was probably random luck, but looks really good. And this background too for Storm has nice energy with like the kind of anime lines or whatever. This looks really, really good. Just good lighting match, color match, character match. Like, it's just very cool. Very good fit. Oh, this is Stegron and Juggernaut. So basically took Juggernaut's base body, recolored his skin more yellow, put the tail in, and you can see his head here has the kind of Stegron face and tongue popping out. Man, I did good on this. There's like some nice little added shadow detail in here. I'm sure these eyes don't actually line up here. I'm sure I had to move them to fit the hole sockets better while the tongue and nose were still visible there. I do remember thinking this one, like, I think the yellow is maybe not yellow enough. I'm sure I matched it to the authentic Stegron yellow, but I think I should have chose visibility and clarity over like match, because I think at a distance it kind of just looks too much like Juggernaut. I mean the tail kind of jumps out at you a little bit, but I bet a lot of people scrolled through this and didn't realize it wasn't Juggernaut. Like, yeah, it's yellow, but again, you know, you're looking at it on a big screen right now, really focus on it. If you're scrolling through YouTube, right, and you're just seeing stuff, I should have cranked up the saturation a bit to make it more yellow. I think that probably would have helped this video perform. Okay, so this is Mockingbird and Cable and like stealing stuff. It's literally just Mockingbird on Cable's body. I might sometimes I'll like reshape the bodies to look more feminine, and that does include both the chest and like kind of the waist area, like often giving it like a little bit more narrow waist, wider hips, bumping up the chest size sometimes. I can't tell if I did that here or not. It looks like I might have, because this looks kind of blurrier than the other elements around it. I don't know that came through very well. It's not obvious that that's the case. I mean, this looks okay to me, but it just kind of looks like Cable with Mockingbird's body. It doesn't look super compelling or interesting. I don't know. It's just fine. I probably would have done something differently these days. All right, so this is Cersei and Negasonic Teenage Warhead together, which this looks pretty cool. The head's a really good fit on this body. It matches super well. I don't know if this skin tone match is perfect. Looks a little off to me maybe, but the like the lighting looks good. The recolor to turn her green looks good. Like, it's subtle. I don't know that this jumps out as Cersei necessarily, but it looks good at least. I think this video did okay if I remember right. So this is Sasquatch and why am I forgetting her name? What's her name, dude? Why can't I remember her name? I keep wanting to say Sunspot. I think it starts with dude, what's her name? Why am I blanking, dude? Snowguard. I literally had to look it up. I'm getting old, dude. Snowguard and Sasquatch. So replacing her animals in the background basically with Sasquatch. And doing this crazy recolor on the Sasquatch. Those animals have this like kind of teal and like magenta like color palette thing. Like, I don't know, it's hard to do. I don't think this is the perfect execution of it. I think I've done it better more recently. I think we'll probably see another example that looks better. This is okay though. I do wish the framing was a bit better. There's like a lot of dead space here. It probably was just hard to avoid. I like the way the legs match up into the background here. So yeah, this looks okay to me. I don't hate this. Oh, I do hate this. Oh god, it looks terrible, dude. No, I hate this. How old is this? This is Jean Grey's head. I think, or is it Hope? Maybe it's Hope. Hope Summers' head. I don't even know. It's probably Hope. Hope Summers' head on I guess it's probably Hope, right? That makes more sense. On Galactus's body, I do know that I reshaped this to look more feminine, like I talked about before. I think that probably even includes the chest area too. I don't know, dude. This just looks clunky. I don't know what. I kind of hate this. This planet looks like different and weird too. Is this from Hope maybe, or Jean? I literally don't even know what character this is, but I hate it. I can't look at it. I'm done looking at it. So this is Scream and Arrow. I will say, like, this has a lot of the same problems as the Misery we talked about earlier, where it's like hard to do these symbiotes sometimes. So I literally stuck Scream's head on Arrow's body, recolored the fingers a little bit to match, and I like ripped holes in the Arrow costume to like show Scream's like skin coming through more, so that it would be apparent that it was Scream, because it felt like it was just literally her head on Arrow's body, and that wasn't good enough. So I added all these like little rips and previews into like show the body more, because it seemed like that kind of conveyed the idea. Still don't really love this. It still looks awkward, but it was hard. Dude, this is a sick thumbnail and a triumph, dude. This is Daken and Scorn together. So basically taking Scorn's like mechanical arms and elements and stuff and putting them on Daken. Also, do note Daken has these like tattoos. I even recolor these to look like they're the mechanical bits kind of merging together with the like Scorn mechanical elements, and I like transformed his face. I gave this like rip in his pants with this like wires coming in to connect. I think this looks really cool personally. I think this is pretty nice. The only thing I don't love about it is it's slightly off-centered, because the arm here takes so much more space and it was going to crop over the text. But you can't have perfection, dude. It still looks pretty dang cool. I think I'm pretty happy with how that turned out. Okay, so this is Scarlet Spider and Doom. I remember thinking it was pretty clever how the hood of Doom matched the hoodie of Scarlet Spider, and playing off of that idea. So just recoloring the body red. He's got his like silver armband still. Like Scarlet Spider has those like web canisters on his wrists or whatever. The red here looks a little aggressive to me when I zoom in. It's not too bad at scale or on different screens or whatever. I might tweak this to be a little less. It's kind of like a pink sheen to it, magenta leaning in a little bit too much. I might pull it back a little bit there, but I don't know, man. This doesn't look great to me from like an execution standpoint, but I think the character idea behind this is pretty cool, and something about it still looks kind of epic. I'm not sure what I did with the background here. It's just this like generic purple. I don't love that side of it. Oh, I do love the wording here though. This is what we're talking about. I used 5s instead of S's because this is a Cerebro 5 deck. So it's 5 Scarlet Spider, 5/5. That's actually really cool. I think it did on the title too, and very few people actually noticed, but a fun little detail there. All right, I had to step away for a minute, and I saw that this is taking way too long, so we're gonna have to pick up the pace. This is Sauron and Blob. I can see that I did not match up the edge lighting on the Blob here. That's something I would do nowadays. This is actually pretty simple recolor, but does look rather striking, high contrast, all the stuff you love. This is Sasquatch and Scar. This is a weird combination. I can tell that I've stretched this arm or something a little bit to make it fit better. Like I think I squished it, distorted it this way. Gave Scar's like dagger, gave Scar's arm wrap. These are the stripes on Scar's shoulder and Scar's belt. Recolored Sasquatch to green. I mean, Sasquatch is like always underwhelming to me, but that looks okay. I don't love the way I did the stripes. I think I would make those like darker now, but that's okay. Looks fine. Okay, this is Sandman and Corvus Glaive. So I've done a few of these like Sandman ones before. These are pretty cool. You just kind of recolor everything to this like, tannish yellow or whatever, and then do this like noise grain effect to it to make it look sandy. And then, to get the Sandman costume, you do this like green on green. I will say I would have done this like the stripes here. I think I probably would have aligned that better with his body. Like it's just kind of not aligned well. It doesn't really make sense with the garment or whatever. Probably something I would have changed nowadays, but it still looks fine. It still conveys the idea. I think these always look actually pretty cool. Good color match on the side characters too, both with green. So this is Selene and Silver Sable. So we took it, I think everything. I think the body is Selene's basically, and everything else is Silver Sable. It looks like maybe the arm here is from Silver Sable connected. So probably just had to do a bit of a color match on the, like, make the hands and stuff look kind of leathery, and maybe the headband, and then probably a skin tone match a little bit too. I mean, it's striking. You can see the energy too up here for the gun and stuff for Selene to bring in the kind of magical element. It looks striking. That's all I'll say. This is Red Guardian and Red Hulk for, I think, what was a red deck. You've also got Red Skull and Omega Red. It looks pretty good, dude. Like this Red Guardian's hands and gloves. I don't remember how exactly I did these gloves. I might have just recolored this and faked the border of the glove. There's like some tears and stuff. I think I remember this being kind of hard to achieve, like the star being torn on his chest, but looks pretty cool. Nice little detail with the belt there too. That actually looks very good. That was probably very hard to do and looks pretty great. This is Red Skull and Orca. So you got the Orca like helmet here, and that's Orca's face in there too. It looks like recolored the eyes for Red Skull. Also holding Orca's like anchor or whatever. It doesn't look bad. I think it looks better from far away, but it actually is pretty readable. I don't know how easily seen it is that it's Orca. I kind of wish this anchor was a little bit more visible, but it just doesn't probably fit the frame super well. It might have been nice to add 1 or 2 extra elements, but it's okay. This is Professor X and Cannonball. I really love the idea of this. Instead of having his chair, he's just got cannonballs, like, you know, fiery energy propelling him forward. He's also got Cannonball's glasses on, which probably is a really important detail that probably adds a surprising amount to this. I don't know if I would have kept the Professor X mind energy necessarily nowadays, but it looks okay. It looks pretty good. It's pretty funny too. Red Guardian and Cyclops. This actually is pretty sweet, dude. I don't know that a lot of people identified exactly what this was, but I put Cyclops' visor on there, recolored it to white to match the costume, and then Cyclops' kind of energy blast. This one, it's one of those where it looks so elegant and simple, it's maybe not eye-catching enough, but it just, like, I don't know, dude. It's pretty cool. I think it's a really, really neat idea and execution. This is Hulkling and Morph. So basically recoloring Hulkling to match Morph's colors, including the wings and stuff here to match the white. Yeah, I think the background here could probably be different. It's just like a little too bland on all the white, but it looks pretty good. I don't hate that. Characters here don't really match much, but it's probably like an RNG deck, I'm guessing, and we just wanted to showcase all the RNG elements on that one. This is Dakin and Proxima Midnight for some kind of like discard combo. It's basically just Dakin's shattered sword being held by Proxima Midnight, which actually looks like a really good fit. Like it's fitting her hand shape and stuff really well. This is another one of those might just be too subtle. Sometimes when it's just like an accessory instead of a big color palette swap or something, it doesn't come across super well, but I think it looks pretty good and pretty clean. I'm guessing this underperformed a bit, but I really like the look of it. Okay, this one's crazy. This is Rogue and Gambit. This is like for the couples thing where they got buffs for each other or whatever, and we just color swapped it. I just changed the yellow basically of Rogue into the magenta of Gambit and vice versa. I don't think anybody noticed this. Like, I don't think anybody really. I'm sure something looked a little amiss, but they're probably just like, it looked a little weird. But it's pretty much just Gambit and Rogue. Also, I don't know why this is missing. What the heck here? I wonder if I had them positioned differently, and in the initial positioning, this was not miscolored, but now it's miscolored and it's driving me crazy. Oh man. Part of me wants to go back and fix that, but this is like a year old. There's no way. So this is Pixie and Gwenpool, just doing a bit of a recolor into the Pixie colors and wings and background. Went a little hard on the green here for the background, I'd say. I was probably looking for a good contrasting color, but it just looks a little strange to me, particularly with the yellow. This is one of those where it's like fine, it's technically executed pretty cleanly, but I don't know that it really conveys the story all that well or looks that interesting. This is Pixie and Null. This is horrifying. I hate this. Also, why is this hand all red and this one's black? That looks bad too. That should be recolored black, obviously, to match. Again, the background, I don't know what I was doing here, man. This must be an old one. Null's tough because Null has a straight on face and most characters aren't posed straight on. So like you can see it looks like it's kind of turned all weird and wacky. That's always really challenging for Null. I think this red's too dark. The background's awful. Oh, I hate it, dude. That's terrible. So this is Phastos Silver Surfer. Looks actually pretty cool. Again, better like magenta hue to the Silver Surfer body. I kind of like that the hammer is still gold. It could be silver, but I like that it really jumps out. I'm pretty sure I probably recolored these lightning elements to be like the pinky magenta of Silver Surfer instead of the, I'm sure it's like white or blue or something for the regular Phastos, maybe yellow actually. So that looks pretty good. I like that a lot. That's pretty clean. Oh, this one's sick. I remember doing this. So this is Corvus, not Corvus Glaive. Bro, why am I blanking on this guy's name? Cull Obsidian. I kept wanting to say Corvus Glaive. They will start to see. Cull Obsidian's body recolored to purple for Thanos' coloring. This is actually a Thanos head from somewhere else. I don't think it's in the game. You can tell the like line work's a little tighter and differently shaded and stuff. And if I remember right, I think it's literally maybe a mirror image. Like I think I just cut it in half and mirrored it. Because for some reason the perspective is better or something. You can tell it's like a perfect mirror. Because again, head-on stuff is sometimes weird or hard to find. But the cool part of this one is probably the like axe he uses. I recolored it a little bit to make it look more like an Infinity Gauntlet and gave it the stones. So it has like the Infinity Stone sort of embossed on it here. I remember positioning them was really weird and getting like the perspective and stuff right, but I think it looks okay. So it's like an Infinity Axe instead of an Infinity Gauntlet, which I thought was a pretty cool touch. Again, not centered, which I don't love, but that's okay. This one's from just like this last week. It's Spider from Penny Parker with Havoc's head on it. So like Havoc is wearing it as a mech suit. This was so impossible to make look good, dude. Havoc's head, again, straight on is weird. It didn't look right. I don't love it. I kind of hate it. Coloring on it was weird. There's so much about this I just don't love, but it needed to be Havoc and Spider, and I had to combine them somehow. That was the right storyline. At least his face is dramatic. The circles do a good job of really focusing your eye in as well, and the like dark recess in the spider body too is really good at calling the contrast out to his face. It like really jumps despite being fairly small as an on-screen element. So it worked. It's just not, there's a lot of problems with that one essentially. Here is Penny and Scarlet Spider. So basically gave her Scarlet Spider's hood, which was kind of fun, and gave her some webbing as well for Scarlet Spider, and just regular Spider here in the background. I remember tweak her like red to jump out a little bit from the red of the, he's kind of more of a yellow red and she's more of like a magenta red, just to make it pop a little bit against that background. I think I also boosted her size up quite a bit in comparison to the mech normally, so she'd really jump out on frame, which she still doesn't quite jump out enough. This is obviously Galactus and Symbiote Spider-Man. This actually looks pretty cool, I think. Just recoloring Galactus's head here to match, still putting in the same little background. I remember this little spaceship is in the Galactus art. I kind of made it look like the web is grabbing it, although I notice now I hate how this web like clips over the mask. It's not that it's in front of it, that's fine. It looks like an awkward little tangent, like it's part of it or something. Small little detail there I don't love, but it's totally fine. But yeah, this is kind of funny to see Galactus in like a more dramatic pose. Another one of those where his face is in a weird straight on perspective and you're looking up at it, so you kind of see the bottom of the chin, which sometimes makes it hard to fit on certain characters, but it actually looks pretty good here compared to normal, so I didn't hate that. This is Man-Thing and Ajax. This one's actually pretty sweet. Just kind of like ripped open the fabric a little bit on his arm and his leg to show more of the Man-Thing. So like basically just cut his arm off, swapped Man-Thing's arm in behind, and then added some little fabric tears and stuff to make it look like the cloth broke out. Same thing on his arm here. Probably could have got away with not doing that. It doesn't feel super necessary. But some little flourishes here and there too on the costume, little mushrooms and plants and stuff. Looks pretty cool. And the red eyes match nicely with the red high contrast background. This is Jean Grey and Punisher. This is another one of those I can tell I tweaked the body shape to look more feminine. Whether or not that was successful, I don't know. I don't really love the look of this. It's fine. Her head looks big, but I'm pretty sure I matched it to like I always match the head to the previous head. So I wonder if her head's too big, or I think I made this arm less muscular. Like I think I squished it this way to make it like less bulky, and that maybe just threw off the proportions a little bit to make her head look too big. Also, the chest is probably ultimately still a little bit too wide. So something here looks a little out of whack, but not sure what. Also, the lighting on her hair is this like really sharp pink, but the lighting on this is all yellow, so that's a bit weird too. Probably would have tweaked that these days. This is Omega Red and Living Tribunal. Looks pretty cool actually. I don't hate this as far as like a weird combination. I remember putting the Omega Red logo on his chest instead of the Tribunal logo. That felt like a very good change. I remember the white, like the changing this body to this like solid white was really hard to match the kind of lighting on the base Omega Red, because this is like a really kind of flat, like the white super flat and the grays are hard to match. So I had to like do some weird like lighting adjustments basically to make the higher contrast metal body look less metal and like pull the contrast down and like flatten out the grays a little bit or something. I can see that his hand has a slight cyan tint to it, and I don't know why. It doesn't look like it matches the rest of the body. I wonder if I pulled that out or forgot that or something. It looks a little weird. That's White Tiger and Sage. This actually looks pretty sweet. I remember the coat being a surprisingly great fit for White Tiger. Like I'm sure I just cut it in half down the middle, and like this side fit pretty well and then the other side fit pretty well, like her body. So I'm sure these are Sage's arms recolored to be white, and you can tell it's not like a perfect shiny match. And then the rest was just White Tiger's body, and honestly it looks pretty great. It looks good, and the green screens from Sage match the like green background of White Tiger perfectly too. That's really, really clean. So this is Nimrod and Phoenix Force. So basically creating like a semi-translucent Nimrod that's been color adjusted to like orange and yellow, and then just blending it in with the Phoenix Force. And you can see like some parts are more translucent than others to like let more fire through, which I thought looked pretty cool. I hate how this rock is here, but it's just part of Nimrod's art. It's on the same layer in the game files, so you can't easily separate it. It just feels weird. Feels like this wing is kind of going crazy over here. It's like a little bit too much wing compared to this wing. I don't know why it's like a different angle and stuff. That bugs me a little bit, but all in all, yeah, I think it looks pretty cool. Still the same. I don't really know how often Nimrod is visible, but it feels like it's still pretty striking visually anyway, and the Nimrod's maybe a bit of a bonus. So this is Annihilus and Supergiant. Supergiant's so hard, dude. Every time I do Supergiant, I hate it. This is just Annihilus's face, recolor on the Supergiant. Again, a straight on face is weird. It's hard to make it work. I think the shadow here helps a lot, that like fake shadow I added under the hood, but still pretty hard to work with. This is Ravonna and Thena. Actually pretty clean. Like it looks surprisingly good. It's just literally just a head swap, but for some reason it just looks kind of epic. I don't know. This one I remember being like, oh dude, yeah, okay, so this is Speed with other ongoing card elements. It's got Howard's hat, Captain America's shield, and I guess that's Claw's arm. I remember thinking Speed was just like impossible to make a good thumbnail, and I couldn't figure out who to merge him with, so I was like, let's just give him accessories from everybody else. I mean, it kind of works. I think the shield just looks a little plastered on. The claw arm looks pretty great. Maybe I should have just done claw and like recolored him to match claw, because claw is basically just like red, right? It probably would have been fairly easy to pull that off. So I don't know. It's weird. This is Namora and Captain Marvel. I remember Namora is like the worst card to work with, because Namora has like this really complex body with like all of these little like trinkets and little elements, and there's like fish everywhere overlaying it. It's like impossible to do color swaps or body swaps for Namora. So like finding a good match for Namora just feels terrible. I'm sure this was a pretty elegant solution. I think I changed Captain Marvel's like arm energy to like blue to make it match the character more. Probably should have like color swapped the Captain Marvel, but I don't know. This kind of tells the story pretty well for what it is. Like it looks okay, honestly. It's really hard to work with. This is Kingpin and Magneto. I honestly kind of dig this, right? It's literally just Magneto's head on Kingpin's body, which is often hard because Kingpin's body is so wide. And again, we have the straight on head problem. But I think the energy elements pulled in for Magneto on the fists really looks pretty good and conveys the storyline here rather well. And the red is quite striking and does seem to match actually pretty effectively with Magneto. So this is weirdly pretty good. This is Cerebro and Moon Girl, and in particular, copying your Cerebro. The Cerebro is a nightmare, dude. For whatever reason, the Cerebro helmet in the regular art, it's like sitting on a table. And it's this really weird perspective. You're kind of looking like down and at the side. So it's like, it would be like if you're looking at a head from like this angle, right? Like you're seeing this, which obviously in card artwork, nobody's head is at this angle. So you can't sit the normal Cerebro head on any artwork in the game. Like it just doesn't match up. So this Cerebro that I always use in thumbnails is not from the game. I like found this in a comic book somewhere. I just Googled like Marvel Cerebro comic art or whatever, you know. It's just ripped from a comic book somewhere. And, you know, I pull in the like these wires are from the regular Cerebro or whatever. But it's the only way I can get it to fit on anything. I've tried a few times. We're going to see one example where I got the Cerebro helmet to fit pretty well on Spider, because it's kind of a robot and its angle is sort of weird anyway. It would almost maybe fit on this Hydra Bob, by the way. His head's almost kind of in the right position, but probably still turned a little bit too much. So anyway, kind of faked it here. I do remember this one. I added like these little flourishes of like this Cerebro's been ripped off somehow, and it's like, you know, it got little sparks flying out and stuff. This background's kind of bland, but I like how I added the like faded Cerebro wires, kind of blurry Cerebro wires. I think that's like Storm's background though. It looks like Storm's. I don't know why I used that. Maybe just for more energy. So this is Misery, and it's like the only cool way I could find to do a Misery with Doc Ock, because she already has those like tentacles coming out of her back or whatever. So I thought, let's just take Doc Ock's tentacles since we're in this deck together anyway. Let's make that the tentacles instead of her tentacles, and let's give them like the little symbiote flourishes, right? Like there's the little goop coming off all the tentacles basically here. Just kind of went in and added little goop here and there between different things. It seemed like it made sense, and it looks pretty sick. I also gave her Doc Ock's belt as well, which fit pretty well. I was surprised. So I love this, dude. I think it looked actually really, really cool. This was probably the only good possible Misery thumbnail, and I actually found it, dude. So this is Werewolf by Night and Beta Ray Bill, which honestly looks super clean. I actually love this even now. Basically, I remember recoloring the arm and adding a little bit of fur to it. You can see like this edge here with the fur is obviously not from Beta Ray Bill. Swapping out the head was easy. Yeah, it looks good. The head positioning is like kind of perfect for this perspective too. It just looks really nice. That's super clean. So this is Makari and Proxima Midnight, right? Yeah, it's the Proxima Midnight arm. Yeah, this is cool. So it's just Makari's head and Proxima's body recolored, but you can see I added the like runic energy on her costume or whatever from Makari to Proxima Midnight. So like this stuff's not here on Proxima, right? Like all this stuff on the arms. I don't even know how I did this. I'm probably just like cut and pasted, but it seems to fit really well. Looks really good, particularly on the chest. That's super clean. And then recolored to red and then added these like little energy blasts. That looks good, dude. That's really well done. Kind of impressed by my work here. I don't know that it's a great thumbnail. I don't know it's that obvious like who either character is, but it looks very cool. So this is obviously Madam Web and Human Torch for a move deck. Just giving Madam Web the kind of fiery Human Torch look, obviously with all the different Human Torch elements. I gave her the Fantastic Four logo. I remember that being a late edition that went a long way. I was like, oh yeah, that really helps tell the story quite a bit. The Human Torch like this, like background fire stuff, it never looks that good. It's like this weird washed out color, but that's just what they use for Human Torch, and I wanted to try to match it. So it does look a little weird, I think, sometimes, but that's just the real deal. I think it actually looks pretty good overall, though. Madam Web's a hard one to make look cool, speaking of, but I think I made it look cool. So this is Madam Web and Thor and Lockjaw. I remember just doing Thor at first. I thought it just looked so boring, so I put Lockjaw on her lap as well. Gave him some of the Thor energy. She's got like the Thor helmet, although that might actually just be from Beta Ray Bill, I think, right? And then kind of holding Thor's hammer like it's floating in her hand. It's not perfect. I don't think this did very well, but Madam Web's hard to work with. So this one's funny. This is pretty recent. This is Luna Snow with Snow Guard, because this was like a snow, you know, we played on that snow idea. Some people thought I didn't edit this. Some people thought this was just regular artwork, which I kind of see. It looks perfectly fitting, and it is kind of lazy. Like, it's mostly Snow Guard with just Luna Snow in front of it, but I did actually color tweak her to match the color palette. She has like some like greenish teal, and I turned it to pink to make sure she matched there. And I changed her energy thing here floating. You can see this energy thing floating. I gave it like pink and teal elements too to make it match the Snow Guard animals in the background. I think I might have, I don't remember if I recolored her fingers or not. Maybe just the inside of the jacket. I don't know. But it did actually have some subtle tweaks to make it match up with Snow Guard. It just looks like perfect, right? It just looks like it just fits. You wouldn't expect this to be a tweak because it just looks so natural and so organic. But it is actually technically at least a little bit tweaked, which I thought was cool. Now this is Luna Snow and Psylocke, and boy, this looks good. I honestly didn't do that much on this, but I really like the look of it. It's just a recolor, made the suit more like blue instead of like, it's more like really magenta, of course, or energy effects or super magenta. It's Luna Snow's head and hair, of course. I think we did a bit of a skin match. I made the the sword blue. I remember the coloring here on her hip being a bit weird because it was like really lit by that magenta of the energy. It's got like this soft magenta lighting on it. So I had to like kind of relight that to be more blue, but not totally lose the skin tone either. It was a bit weird. And then the background on this one was weird too. It's a really busy background. It's a Sentinel in the background. So I remember I had to like blur it out more than normal. Like normally I don't blur the backgrounds much, but I color shifted it to a cooler color palette. It's still got some of that magenta because Sentinels are pinkish, you know, that's what color they are. But I color shifted it to blue and blurred it so that she would pop a little bit more. This video has done pretty poorly. It's not done as well as I thought. I think it might partly be the thumbnail. This might be one of those thumbnails that's like too sexy, but not like, doesn't really jump enough. Or maybe just, you know, I think views are down a little bit right now too. So not sure. So this is Professor X in War Machine. And I remember thinking this was pretty cool because it's like, instead of having his yellow chair, he has the yellow War Machine armor, which I thought was kind of cool. Like it, you know, it's a substitute for the chair. Still has that head thing. I've been using this on all these Professor X ones. I wonder if that's part of the same layer. I don't remember. It's been a while since I've done one. So maybe that's why it's like hard to remove. I'd have to manually cut it out, which wouldn't be too much work. But maybe I was just lazier. Maybe I thought it told the story better, Professor X. Maybe it was because I wanted it in the background and it lines up better that way because this background's kind of bland otherwise. But yeah, I think that looks okay. It's pretty cool. This is Scarlet Witch and Nocturne together. Basically, Nocturne's face and a recolor to blue. You know, they're related, so that looks pretty good. I don't think this is the most standout, like, visually. There's a lot of the same color kind of happening, but the red does jump pretty well, and the yellow eyes pop nicely, too. Oh, God. This one. What can be said about this one? It's Blink and Leech, and we're gonna leave it there. That's all it's gonna be said. So this is Leader and Sandman together. So basically taking Leader, recoloring the skin elements to the sandy elements, adding some little extra like floaty sandy parts. I don't think this is particularly well done. No, not again. I would probably do this better nowadays. It doesn't look that well color matched. It looks kind of messy. Probably added some stripes here to the chest, which actually looks pretty good. I like how I matched the stripes. Like the upper body is curving this way and the lower body is curving this way. That looks nice. But like, why did I not trim it here over this element? Like that looks terrible. I would have definitely fixed that later, but still looks pretty good. It's pretty simple, but I like it. Oh, this is sick. Null and Galactus. So just a recolor. Added the like Null symbiote dudes floating around, gave the Null logo to the chest, added Null's hair popping out basically, changed the colors a little bit on Galactus. That looks pretty sick, dude. Galactus is often very hard to work with, but I think this looks rather nice. I think that's a pretty well done version. I bet this did really well too. I bet it performed well. So this is Titania and Mockingbird. I do remember this being pretty popular among a lot of viewers. Titania gives you a lot to work with, to be honest. And it just kind of popped Mockingbird's head on and then added the Mockingbird batons or whatever. I remember these being really hard to get the perspective right on. And even now you can see they don't really line up that perfectly. Like this one seems narrower than this one. And it kind of looks like there's a little bit of a bend in it where she's like squeezed it too hard or something almost. So not perfect, but probably as good as I could do. The lighting on this is interesting. I thought it was bad at first, but I can see that there's this big yellow glow at the bottom and a big green glow up here. So the lighting actually looks okay. Green on this side, yellow coming from down here. It even kind of matches on the hair here a little bit too. We gave this nice little yellow element, but no green on this side. So yeah, this looks okay. I think the mask is weird if I remember right. The Mockingbird mask always reads weird with noses. You can even see it here too, but that's just part of the art, right? Like I didn't change that. That's just her head. So every time I see this mask, the angles or something look off to me. Like the nose seems like it should go more to the center point of this. But that's just the art, I think. I don't think I did that. So this is Crossbones and Iron Man. So I think this is just basically a recolor, added Crossbones elements like to the chest. This is like a chest plate. I think this actually comes from like the Hades variant, not the base version. The angle or something was better if I recall. And this head is that just Crossbones' head? I don't even know. It doesn't look like Iron Man, so it must be. And then Crossbones background. This one looks pretty sick, honestly. I think people like the more like edgy, kind of dark looking versions of stuff. So this is White Widow and Storm. And this looks actually pretty good. I think it's clean. I like the lightning elements. The hard part about this one, and you can tell too, this freaking like head thing Storm wears, it's jet black. Like it is just solid black in the base art. And trying to turn that into white to match the costume here was a nightmare. And you can probably tell it's still not great. Basically, when you turn it to jet white, you lose any sort of like texture or coloring. You know, like normal white things still have like shading and like coloring and like light and dark. So I think I did like a... Like, I think I just literally stole a part of this and, like, overlaid it so it have, like, some depth. You know, like, there's, like, some darker shading here and stuff. And then, like, how much border do you give it? Like, do you give it a black border like everything else? I don't know. Like, it has this very not really relevant black border around it. I wish I'd either committed or not committed more to this weird border. Maybe I tried and it just scaled weird or something. It actually looks pretty okay from afar. Like, when I look at it at thumbnail scale across on my other screen here, I don't hate it. Just when I zoom in, it's not perfect. But yeah, I remember that being very, very challenging. Oh, this is sick. This is Kyera, another Infinity sword here instead of an axe. I remember giving all the like Thanos themed characters here like Infinity weapons, which I thought was cool. So the stones are just nestled in between the gap in the blade there, which seemed very cool. Yeah, I like that a lot. It seems like I went super hard on coloring that background. I might ease up on that a little bit. Thanos and Professor X. This is cool. So it's literally just Professor X's head on Thanos, which it does not have a great perspective. It's like you're looking down at the top of it a little bit too much probably for this particular perspective, but that's just how it is, you know. Also looks maybe a little big, but again, that might just be perspective problems. All in all, pretty simple but effective. It definitely strikes you that like, oh, that's not Thanos, that's Professor X, and that looks pretty cool. So this is Scarlet Spider with Hulkbuster's gauntlets and still some webbing. I remember the webbing being kind of hard to like work in around the gauntlets and stuff, but it looks okay. Pretty simple change. I remember there being a weird color match with the gauntlets, trying to get that to fit, and then try to like recreate the like silver armbands of Scarlet Spider as well, where you, like the web canisters we talked about earlier. So that's why that part's silver instead of red. I don't know if that came off super well, but kind of simple but cool. So this is Hulkling and Sandman. I don't love this. I normally like the Sandman stuff. Like the sand part looks pretty cool, right? You know, I think I did that well, like always. Like it looks like sand. Probably just like the cloak being the part that you give the Sandman, like, you know, costuming to is, I don't know, it just looks kind of weird. Like maybe it should have just been the chest and the cloak. Also, I gave it this like Sandman, you know, he has that like funnel. His legs are like a, you know, funnel of sand or whatever. I did that here. I don't know why. I don't normally do that. I don't know that I love it. It makes it look like he's kind of wearing a dress or something here. I don't know if it conveys it super well, so probably tweak some things there. Now this is Hulkling and Destroyer. This looks actually pretty epic. Metal wings from Hulkling, like the cloak is there. It looks actually pretty cool. It drapes really well over the Destroyer. I'm sure that required a little bit of tweaking to make it fit to size. Now, the part about this I remember is the sword perspective was weird. We might be able to tell if we look at that last Hulkling. Like, see how much of the top of the sword handle you're seeing? Like, you're seeing almost a full square there because you're kind of looking at the sword, like, you know, from top down almost, right? But that didn't make sense with the twist of Destroyer's hand. You're not seeing the top of Destroyer's hand. You're seeing like the side of Destroyer's hand more, right? So the perspective on the sword looked really weird. So you can see here, I tweaked the edge, and it's not perfect, of course, because I, not an artist, number one, but I tweaked the edge here. So see how this is way more rectangular. So it looks like you're seeing less of the top of the sword and looking at it from more of kind of a twisted side view, which I still don't think matches the perspective of Destroyer's hand perfectly, but it does seem to match a little better. And it was close enough there that it didn't like really catch your eye as looking weird, which totally unnecessary element. But I wanted it to have the sword. I thought the sword was really important, and it does look actually pretty cool. So this is Hood and Agent Venom, which Agent Venom was giving me problems a lot. Like, it's just not that much to go off of. It's kind of the same as all the other Venom characters, just like that white thing on the chest, and he has like that eye patterning with, like, here you can see I hand drew this eye patterning in from the Agent Venom eye patterns. So that said, not much to work with here, but I do think this actually looks pretty cool. Like, I don't know. It's just like a striking character with the guns and stuff. I think this is maybe Iron Man's background I used to. I don't know. Not sure this comes from the Hood. I think the Hood's like falling out of a building or something. Or so is Agent Venom. I think the glass is probably from Agent Venom. So this is Super Skrull and Morph, and this is actually pretty sweet. I remember being hard to blend this arm and chest area into Super Skrull. So it's like Morph's body, shoulders and stuff, but the arms are from Super Skrull, like the stretchy and obviously the thing. And it wasn't hard to do the Human Torch over here. You just kind of hide that behind the body. But I think his body was like in a different shape or covered up or something. So I had to kind of like create a weird little trim here and like kind of make it look like the body ended there, and like you can see these are kind of blurred together in a weird way. I think it looks pretty okay, though, in the scheme of things. I remember I had to make the leg more translucent to convey the Invisible Man leg, but I think it looks actually pretty dang good. Oh, this was for High Voltage. Yeah, it's coming back soon. Okay, this is Hela and MODOK, obviously. So recolored, given the lipstick. I remember this wasn't... Oh, the horns were a nightmare to get right. Like, just placing them all and stuff. And I think they're sourced from, like the gardening Hela, not the base one, because the horns are just like higher res or something. Also, I cut these off. I must have repositioned him and not added these back, so that's kind of lazy. It doesn't look too bad, but kind of annoying. I remember this looked weird until I gave it the sword. Like, for some reason, the sword added to it, which the sword is kind of the wrong perspective. It's been warped weird, I can tell, to fit, but for some reason that added the extra depth. So this is Shuri and Heimdall, which actually looks pretty cool. I think her head's surprisingly good fit. I feel like this body for Heimdall has been narrowed a little bit, maybe to make it look more feminine. I'm not sure. There is a lot of cape in this one, I'll say, and she's not that well centered. That bothers me. If I made this now, I might like move this screen more to the center, like even if it's covering up the sword or her hands a little bit. It's still translucent, so could be okay. And then try to, I don't know, move her more center so this cape is not taking up like 3/4 of the screen. It's like too much. Okay, Cerebro and Swordmaster. Did I call this guy Samurai earlier? It just occurred to me. I feel like I called him Samurai instead of Swordmaster. I don't know why. If you go back to that part of the video, you're probably like, Samurai, who's that? I was probably thinking of Silver Samurai and Silver Surfer and called him Samurai. Anyway, this is that Cerebro helmet I'm talking about, right? Like, this does not really fit this dude's head. I tried my hardest. I think I even reshaped the top of it. It looks like I like cut it off to make it look kind of more fitting, but it doesn't fit. I do like how the sword here has been recolored to match Cerebro, which is super subtle. Like, nobody notices that, but it's like blue instead of green. And it has like the Cerebro like wires connecting to it and stuff. So it looks like the Cerebro sword and helmet are together. So pretty cool. Like, I don't think this video did that well, and I think this probably thumbnail was a part of it. I don't think this thumbnail is that interesting overall, but from an execution standpoint, actually kind of cool. I think I don't hate it. So here's another Speed and Havoc, I guess. Like, right, this is Speed's coloring and Speed's head. Maybe this doesn't even, is this like a variant of Speed? I don't even know. That head looks weird. I don't remember this. And then like Havoc's, glow and circle and stuff. I remember this recolor being kind of weird. I feel like the lighting was too harsh. It doesn't really look good now either. It is actually a pretty bold thumbnail looking at it from far away. Like, it does catch your eye, but something about the, I don't know, different elements doesn't look that good to me. This one's funny. This is Brood and Gwenpool, of course. Normally she's riding that scooter, but I recolored the Brood to pink and made it look like she's riding the Brood instead, which is actually pretty good. I think that's kind of funny. Yeah, I actually like this a lot. It's probably a buff deck, right? Oh, this is cool. So this is Drax and Hulk. So giving Hulk Drax's head and then adding the Drax tattoo patterns. I'm guessing I probably did these manually. You can see the curve is kind of a bunch of little lines. It's probably because I used like a little tool to kind of draw a selection tool on there. It's got like the arm wrap as well. Oh no, that's not Hulk, it's Scar. No, who is it? The wrap usually means Scar. And this dagger doesn't look like, oh, that's Drax's dagger. I don't know what this wrap is for. Is it Scar? Does Drax have those wraps? No? I don't know. It's definitely using a Hulk's base art, though. I know that. And it's Drax's head and sword. So I don't know where this wrap came from. Maybe that's for Scar or something. But actually looks pretty cool either way. This is Black Panther and Grandmaster, basically given the head and recolored to match Grandmaster's costume, which is like weird. There's all these like weird little shapes. I remember selecting all these to recolor or whatever. Honestly, looks pretty good. Like the head fits this body pretty well, which is rare. I don't hate that. So this is Green Goblin and Selene and Dr. Octopus. It looks like this is an unholy abomination, but it honestly looks good. The colors really jump. The head honestly looks kind of fine on Selene's body. I don't know if I would have done the arms necessarily from Doc Ock, but I don't hate it. It's pretty cool altogether. I like that. So this is Shauna and Gilgamesh, I believe. Shauna's pretty boring and Gilgamesh is pretty boring to do, but I just did a bit of a recolor to make her Gilgamesh's color and gave her his like glowing arm gauntlets, which I do remember like fitting surprisingly well from a perspective standpoint, but not fitting well from like a, you know, they're like too wide. But I think I wanted them to look a little big, like they're kind of extending beyond her, recoloring her hair and stuff. I don't know. It is probably not that interesting. Oh yeah, here's Gilgamesh again with the gauntlets. Yeah, this is with Khazar's head. So really simple change here. The head fits well. Like it looks like a pretty fitting fit. So there's a little bit of too much yellow here altogether, but that's okay. It's unavoidable sometimes. This is Hela and Supergiant. Again, Supergiant, super hard to work with. I do think I blended the Hela head pretty nicely here into the like hood of Supergiant or whatever. Again, I think that's the gardening Hela. That head's easier to work with. This is Absorbing Man and Gambit, and you know, shirtless Gambit in particular. I remember this being a bit of a weird color match. Head also felt like it was weird, but that's just the positioning on Absorbing Man's head. Like you're kind of looking at him from top down over the shoulders. Matching the like glow of this, the Gambit cards to the glow of the Absorbing Man ball was really tough because these are mostly white with like that, you know, pink outline, and it's like you just can't make this mostly white, you know, like it has to be mostly pink. So the color may match, the lighting doesn't necessarily match on these. That said, I still think it looks pretty cool. I liked how I used this. I do remember this is Magneto's glow here on the ball instead of Gambit's. For whatever reason, it just looked like it was better that way. So this is Galacta and Symbiote Spider-Man, which might be hard to tell, but I kind of gave the Symbiote Spider-Man look to her middle here and gave her the, of course, the coloring and the webs as well. This one is an unusual circumstance because I did not have the good Galacta art yet available in the game files when I made this. Marvel Snap like changed something. I had to ask for help from the Snap fan folks to figure out my like data mining I used to get the game files. I had to update something in the program I used, or use basically a different version of the program, actually, like a new updated version. So I didn't have the game file, so I had to go into the game and screenshot this Galacta. That's why the background is weird, and that's why these like white dots are all over her, because that's in the normal art. And I couldn't like cut those out to recolor it. Normally that would be on a separate screen layer that I would just toss out and use just the base Galacta. So I had to go use this using a screenshot from the game, which made it way harder to work with. Now I've fixed that with the help of the Snap fan folks, and can get back to like base art again in the game file. So not a problem anymore. So this is Gore and Anti-Venom, which are a really natural fit. They both basically look the same. Like their costumes are kind of the same. almost the extent that I'm not sure people realize this is a good edit. Like, it's Gore's body, Gore's hood, and like cloak and arms and stuff, but it has Anti-Venom's head, Anti-Venom's like chest, spider logo, and all these little extra tendrils and stuff, and spikes are all from Anti-Venom. But it looks almost so natural, I'm not even sure it's easy to realize that it's a combination. It just looks like Anti-Venom almost instead of Gore. So here's another Fenris Wolf. This one's kind of hard to work with because you can't transform like human characters into Fenris Wolf. So we did that previous one with all the small characters. In this case, I wanted Moon Knight riding him. So I had to make this like stirrup. What are they? Not stirrup, like, reins. I had to like make these reins. I like found some leather reins on Google or whatever and just layered it in and like created some straps basically running to Moon Knight's hands, which do look like they're holding stuff because he's holding the cloak. And then I tweaked all the lighting on Moon Knight to be that pink lighting so that he would really fit in nicely with all the kind of pink magenta lighting around. But it actually looks pretty cool. Like if you zoom in, obviously it's clear this is not like comic book and blurry and stuff. But at a normal thumbnail scale, you don't have to worry about that. It looks pretty cool. So this is Scorn and Crystal, again, using that Scorn arm. Looked really cool here, I thought. The Scorn mask, like the Scorn wrapping around her chest really nicely, fits perfectly. Like, this looked actually pretty sweet. I thought this turned out really good. I don't know how popular this video was, but that's a good thumbnail. This is Black Bolt and Proxima Midnight. This got Black Bolt's body, but you can see here I tweaked the body in some pretty substantial ways. Again, I told you guys, I go in and I adjust the bodies to fit a more feminine figure. I don't know this looks like a weird little crop here. I don't know, something weird there maybe, but it is very visually striking, but I remember this did pretty bad, and I think it's just kind of boring, like two boring characters. This is Blink and Electro, which pretty simple recolor, just green and yellow and Electro's mask over the top, but I think it looks okay. Background here might be a little distracting. Like, this blue is a little too close to the green. It kind of blends in weird. I'd have used a different background if I really thought about it, but I still like it. So this is Agatha and Corvus Glaive. So just a recolor and Agatha's head. I don't love this. It's just like really purple and really gray. Not a lot to enjoy. Agatha's head's kind of boring. It's just a human character, so not exciting. This is Agatha and Makari. And again, we did some cool, like, those like runes on Makari's costume. Dude, I don't know how long it took me to do this, but it looks so sick. I'm really proud of myself. Did I do that by hand? Does Agatha's costume probably have some of those striping elements in it? And then it looks to me like I manually cut those out, created a new layer, turned it to yellow, brightened it up, and then maybe gave it a stroke. You can see this like orange glow around. It looks like a stroke. I bet that's what I did, dude. I bet that took forever, but it looks cool. And then I can tell I rechanged the Agatha pink balls to like red and yellow to match too. Looks pretty cool, dude. That's a high energy thumbnail. Like a lot of energy stuff going on, a lot of glow. Like that's pretty good. Dude, I love this thumbnail. This is one of my favorites. Howard the Duck and Living Tribunal. Oh, it looks so sick, dude. Instead of holding that galaxy in his hand, he's got Howard's hat. And then what was really like, I was so proud of this, dude. It's like Howard's head, like the front one, pretty easy, put it under the hood or whatever. I had to do some like shadowing and stuff there, but I made the duck beaks go out the side of the other ones, which for this one is easy, right? Like you just have the duck beak go under the normal, the hood or whatever. But on this one, I had to recreate the shape of the hood to match a duck beak, as if the hood is draped over the beak. And you can see I did like kind of a lazy version of like these folds here, like are the same as these folds. Like I just copy and pasted the same folds and blended them together or whatever, probably feathered it out to match. Probably like kind of probably drew this edge manually or whatever. But I was so proud of that detail, dude. Like, I was so proud of that. Oh, that's so good. I'm really, really happy with how that turned out. It's still one of my absolute favorite thumbnails. So Grandmaster Dr. Doom here. Again, just a bit of a recolor. Just make everything blue to match. The gold fingertips is a cool little detail. In hindsight, I might not have used the green here. I don't know. I might have tried to make the green Grandmaster colors, but he has like a lot of colors going on, so it's probably hard. Oh, this is I just made, dude. This looks so sick to me. I told you before, I love War Machine. We kind of did a similar thing with the lightning sort of stuff from before. I think this might be from Storm too, to be honest. I think this is from a Storm variant. I don't remember because I was like going through looking for multiple lightning things that looked like they'd be a good fit, and I just grabbed this one, but I think it was Storm. But just like a recolor on the War Machine, taking the like dark gray elements of War Machine, the kind of black elements, and coloring them down to a much lighter gray was kind of tough. Adding the Doom 2099 head and hood, and then the cape behind it, kind of recoloring like a lot of the lighting to like bluish white. You can see various spots there, and then adding that lightning element, and then that Storm's background again. Like, this is another one where it doesn't really jump out as you as like too dramatic or anything, but dang, it looks so clean to me. It looks so cool and fitting, and like it just looks like it just looks like it'd be a real Doom 2099 variant, right? It just looks so clean. And then this is Doom 2099 and Iron Man. Originally I was like trying to recolor the face to look like Iron Man, and I was like, no, screw this, dude. I'm just gonna put in the Iron Man head and save myself a ton of time, and it worked. This took a lot of little hand, like I had to cut out all these little elements by hand and like recolor those to specifically gold. And at first I didn't do enough, and it looked just too red, so I had to go in and add even more gold elements to make sure it matched up. There's like kind of a weird mismatch on the art here. Like you like this leg is obviously in a different position or whatever, right? But see, this leg has this like big banded area up here where I turned it gold. It's like running along the top of this thigh, and then it comes down the inside as well to like line up with you know, like it comes to here, and then there's a cutoff, and then it goes to here. But you can see here, this is actually manually added. I drew this line in. You can see it's sloppy. That's not there in the artwork. This is all one piece in the art. It's not mirrored to this side, or at the very least, like. And there's no like top border up here either. You might argue that top border is not visible because of the angle, but I feel like you'd still be able to see like the edge of it like poking out the top or whatever. So I thought about drawing an entire another like top golden border up here to kind of match that. There's also like, you should probably be able to see this light on here somewhere. Like that doesn't just disappear on this side of the leg. So there's a bit of a weird mismatch in the art that I couldn't really recreate. I tried my best. So I like this chunk here, I tried to match up to this here, like this little gold, and kind of pretended like this gold border went behind it or whatever. But anyway, just let my notice the art. And then I like had to recolor all the lighting as well to make it match Iron Man a little bit more, I guess, and the hand energy and stuff. But that actually looks pretty cool, and this video is done very well too. Very, very well. So this is Marvel Boy and Kate Bishop Devil Dinosaur, and I don't know, man. Was I high when I made this? Devil Dinosaur, you know, like these big animals are hard to work with, right? So sometimes it's just like stuff riding them. Like, okay, Marvel Boy also so boring and hard to work with, and his pose is super weird. So he seemed like he kind of fit riding, and then I recolored the dinosaur to match Kate Bishop's costume, gave it Kate Bishop's glasses here, and then gave it her bow and arrow, right? So this is like Kate Bishop dinosaur. I don't know, man. I don't know. It's a thumbnail. Here's another dinosaur, but Snow Guard dinosaur recolored to match that teal and kind of blue and pink of the Snow Guard animals. I think it looks okay. It's definitely kind of stand out. I remember the teeth being weird. They originally were like going pink, and I had to like cut those out and make them white, if I recall, because I needed like more contrast to make those really jump. I think it looks okay. I don't hate it. Okay, this is Gladiator and I guess just Venom, right? It looks like just Venom. I don't know where this tongue comes from. I don't think that's the base Venom's tongue at all. Really not even the base Venom's head either, I don't think. Recall. I love that I gave the mohawk here still, though. The mohawk is still over the top of Venom's head, which is kind of funny. Yeah, this looks okay. I think I would do this better today, but it looks okay. I don't hate that. The white chest thing does really jump out at you quite nicely. Looks better far away than up close, but okay, this is pretty recent. This is Colossus and Destroyer. So just, you know, giving the color palette of Colossus, making a belt little fit here. I remember the hard part here was I had to like, there's like a seam on Colossus. It looked really weird to just have it be yellow into red. So I had to hand draw these lines to create the seam and like kind of try to follow the shape of his body a little bit here. So these black lines you see are hand drawn, which you can tell they're sloppy, right? But this color match here too is weird, but there was some strangeness with these shoulder pads were kind of hard to get in there and match. And then these leg pad things were really tough too. Like the perspective was just super weird on these. there's actually a lot of like manual work here to like shape this out to make it fit the perspective a little better, and it honestly still doesn't look good because you should really be seeing more of like the side of that than you're kind of looking at it on the front. You should kind of be seeing more of the side of it, but I did my best. I think it looks pretty solid from far away. So this is Darkhawk and Beta Ray Bill's head and Thor as well. We got Beta Ray Bill's hammer and Thor's hammer, which the perspective on these is all out of whack. I also just hate the positioning of this. I don't know, like Darkhawk's hard to fit in a thumbnail because he's just so vertically aligned. There's not like a square shape necessarily to pull from. So I'm probably trying to zoom in a lot. I mean, it conveys that it's Beta Ray Bill and Darkhawk. I'll say that about it, but otherwise I kind of hate it. Oh, I really hate this. Oh, God. This is Cull Obsidian and Kazar. This is Kazar recolored yellow with Cull Obsidian's head. I know this video did terrible, and I can see why. The thumbnail is really bad. Like, I'm sure I just felt it was really important to get those two characters across, but sometimes you just have to figure out an alternative. I don't know. This just doesn't look good enough. Okay, this is Red Hulk and Crossbones. So, recoloring Crossbones with Red Hulk's face. Pretty cool, actually. Giving some skin tears so more of the red skin shows through. Thought that kind of helped here. And then I remember I made his toe pop out. I thought it was really funny how Scar is like looking at his toe. I'm like, oh, dude, no way, dude. He's not happy with that toe hanging out in his face. So this is Kang and Copycat, I guess. This is like going Giga Brain deck, yeah, where you're trying to be smart. Boy, this is boring. I mean, it's just boring, right? Oh, Kang's face is in the freaking... Oh, I take it back. That's sick. I don't even remember doing that. That's pretty cool. Kang's face is inside the energy ball. That makes it cooler, but that is so subtle. Like, man, you don't notice that. I don't think that's good enough. I'm sure I just thought, hey, she's got a blue face. It's a pretty good fit. Let's roll with it. Might have been in a hurry, but it doesn't do enough. Okay, this is cool. This is Doc Ock and Copycat again, of course. And I remember this one being pretty cool because I thought the body of this like dude she's like turning into or whatever looked a little bit like Doc Ock's costume anyway. It had like the same kind of belt energy and like boots and stuff. So I was like, oh man, that's gonna be an easy recolor to make that look like Doc Ock. I think that, you know, this belt part is obviously added in. You can tell it doesn't match super well. And then you just go for the, you know, you go for the arms, and the normal Copycat body is fine, and it actually looks really cool. I remember this. I added the shadows of the arms. See, like there's a normal shadow. I added in the arm shadows, guys. Look at this. The Doc Ock tentacle arms, dude. How freaking cool is that detail? I'm a god, dude. I'm actually the coolest person alive. That is such a sick detail. No one will notice. Okay, so this is Wolverine and Deadpool. So Wolverine's coloring and obviously his big scratchers here, his claws, and Deadpool's body. This was for the Deadpool's Diner event or something to celebrate. Oh no! It was for the Conquerors event. It was like Deadpool themed, I guess. Was it Deadpool's Diner? I don't remember. Anyway, it made sense for whatever reason. I think to celebrate the movie or whatever, to combine these two. I don't really like how I left the Deadpool logo here. I wonder if that was supposed to have an X-Men logo and I forgot to do it. I bet that's what happened. Okay, so this is Carnage and Ultron, and honestly, it looks pretty sick. Yeah, I don't love the mouth necessarily. I wish this had more of like a chin under it or something. I don't know. I mean, that's just what the Carnage art looks like, but man, this looks... I did this really well, actually. I remember cutting out all of these little... the little like tendrils or whatever from Carnage, little black goop energy, and like finding different places to put them and trying to make them line up well. You'll see a lot of repeats. Like I'm sure this one is the same as this one, probably just flipped, Sure, a lot of little repeats. Like this is, I'm sure you'll see that in multiple places. I don't know where. Yeah, there is that it again. Yeah, here it is again. Like that's the same one as that one. You don't need to do a lot. As long as they're kind of at different places, slightly different angles, the eye doesn't tend to notice. I really like how boldly white the lighted parts are, and like his eyes and his teeth. I feel like that's not like, I may have done that specifically to make it pop, but it really pops. And then this blue background is like so artificial, but man, does it read well with that red. That is a striking visual. This looks great, and this video has done insanely well too. This is that big bad stuff. So yeah, this was a home run across the board. Like really cool character shift. Yeah, really nice. Oh dude, is this live, dude? It's obviously Cannonball with the Rock for a head, like the Rock from the Rock card, and I obviously stretched his goggles to fit, which is really funny. You can tell I really had to do a lot of work to make those fit. This is ridiculous. I don't know if this is good or bad. I think it's kind of bad. It's just maybe hard to identify what it is at a glance, but it's really funny. So here's Mockingbird and Scar together. Okay. Why do I... Oh, not Mockingbird. Shauna. No, it is Mockingbird. But also Shauna. It's Shauna and Mockingbird and... Oh, so that's what it is. You use Shauna to cheat out Mockingbird. At that point, she was 10, which discounts your Scar. Yeah, so you got Scar's like dagger. You got Mockingbird's baton. You've got Shauna's body. Scar's coloring. Scar's like shoulder tattoos. And Mockingbird's weird face again with that nose. Like, this nose just doesn't make sense to me on Mockingbird's face every time. I know what I was probably thinking when I made this is that, like, Shauna thumbnails always do bad. I need to add more to it, but I don't really love it. I think I did too much. So this is Absorbing Man and Symbiote Spider-Man, obviously. You get the Symbiote Spider-Man chest element here, which it's kind of weird how there's pants and it's not tucked into the pants. I kind of wish I just tucked it into the pants. I don't know. That's strange. The like lighting match or kind of contrast match is always tough on this. Like, his body's like skin, so it's not shiny enough to match the shininess of the Symbiote Spider-Man head. But I do know it took me forever to make this webbing. Also, this is not supposed to be here. This should be cut off. I don't know. That's supposed to be cut off. I must have missed it. But I made the webbing match the bowl of Absorbing Man and like the way it's coiled around his arm, like the chain is coiled around his arm. So I coiled the webbing around his arm, had it coming out his fist, draping over here, and then turning into a ball. It was like really hard to make this ball out of like different web components, but I just kind of like mixed and matched and twirled them all around until they made a ball. But I thought it looked pretty dang cool. I don't know if it's that great for a thumbnail. Here's that Cerebro spider thing we were talking about. This is the only time I got Cerebro's head to make kind of sense on something. Like, it sort of just blends in nicely with Spider's body. I did give it like a chin from a different Spider variant, which you could tell like the like, I don't know, coloring or whatever is inconsistent. The shading or whatever is like splotchier, but that's because it's from a different element. But it kind of added something. Also, like, Cerebro's just like naturally much shinier and like higher res because he's, you know, like a much bigger focus on a card than the Spider is. So it does look like a little mismatched for like clarity's sake, but the color match is pretty good. I had to do a like cyan lighting pass. Like, you can see all this up here is like cyan lighting on this, like the blue to kind of match the background a little bit, which was a bit weird, but it worked. This is a pretty monotone looking image, and I had it as a blue visor or whatever, or the X on Cerebro for forever. And I was like, there's just nothing about this that's jumping out, right? So I turned it red on a just like, I was like, let's see. And it just completely transformed the thumbnail. Suddenly it was very striking and very interesting to look at. I don't know. The red doesn't really signify anything even. I kind of wish this was red instead of blue now, but it just made it jump out. And this video did pretty well, actually. So this is Hydra Bob and I guess Miles together. Probably, right? Like, it looks like Miles' suit, not Spider-Man's. So just like a recolor to make it dark, that red on all these stripes. I could tell I added the Miles logo here too, as opposed to probably like a Hydra logo or something. I don't remember that. I like how the webbing is shooting out of the bazooka, and I remember doing this, like, this was, I don't know, this is like graffiti or like I don't know what this is in the game files. Maybe it was a part of something else. I can't remember now, but it was in the game files, and I like, you know, you did like a little paint spray and then like clip mask over it to make it look like something cool was there. I wanted to add in like graffiti element to make it more Miles. I hate the background on this one though. Like, I don't know what the background's doing here. It's not high contrast enough. It's muddled. It's an ugly color. Like, I don't know. Just really hate this background. I don't know what I was thinking on that. Here's Sandman Blob. This looks really good. This is a good Sandman. Like, great execution of the sand effect as always. That part we do pretty well. I don't have a problem with that. But what I really like is how well I did the shape matching on the bands here, like the shirt. I really seem to match it well across his belly. Like, the shaping is a little different to match each part of the body, which looks really good as far as I'm concerned. Like, I think I did that great. So that's very nice. I'm sure I just did a straight line of stripes and then like warped it down to make it curved, but I don't know how I made it fit so good. Maybe it just kind of naturally fit the perfectly round belly. Oh, dude, this thumbnail sick. I forgot about this, dude. This is like, I don't even remember what I think it's a Black Knight variant, and that's the sword from Black Knight. And yeah, and I just took basically the hood and cloak here of Moon Knight, and I think I put the hood on and like the cloak or cape or whatever behind it. But I remember the recolor on this being really tough, like pulling this down to the white, because this is not white normally. It's like, you know, really dark and stuff. And I recolored it all to white to match the Moon Knight, and then clearly added like a Moon Knight logo. And it looks like I even like added a noise filter, so it would look kind of noisy and messy like the shading in this is. Like it's kind of blotchy. Boy, does that look cool though, dude. This is rare because I don't normally use variants, but I remember Black Knight being really tough to work with in general, and I saw this one and it seemed like I could kind of make it look Moon Knight-esque. But dude, that looks super, super sick. That's very, very cool. So this is Bishop and Hawkeye Kate Bishop for the double Bishop deck, which is super clever. And it's just a recolor, right? And it's kind of got nice little energy elements from Bishop, but I think this looks pretty cool. Really clever. And I don't like that she doesn't fill the frame enough, but that's just kind of natural, right? Like she's a thin character. This is Lockjaw and Red Hulk. Just literally turned Lockjaw's face red and plop it on Red Hulk and call it a day. And honestly, it looks really good. Like it looks great. This is Baron Zemo and Daredevil. Pretty simple recolor on this one. I remember the red being kind of weird to match. Still doesn't really look perfect. I remember something about getting this baton to fit in the hand was kind of weird. Like the angle was strange. I had to tweak something, I think, but looks pretty good how it's like flying around and wrapping around the body. I like that. This is Baron Zemo and Gladiator. This is pretty cool. I actually think the color work on this looks really nice. I'm sure I had to manually draw the stripes here on the chest. You can tell they're not really perfect. Like those are from the Baron Zemo head. Those are fine, I'm sure. But these, I bet I had to manually add in. Yeah, you can tell these are kind of bad. I also remember these guns, like the guns for Baron Zemo just did not fit, like the, you know, perspective or whatever, the shape of Gladiator's body. So I grabbed these from somewhere else. I don't know if they were game files, or sometimes I'll Google around like gun holster comic or something. I don't know, but they clearly are not from Baron Zemo. I got these somewhere else, but they actually look like a really natural fit. I did a good job squeezing those in. So this is Cassandra Nova and Beast. This was actually, I remember, a lot of work adding all the fur elements to this. Like I remember I made her blue and it just didn't seal the deal. So I had to go in and add all these little fur elements. I just like kind of cut them off the edges of a Beast somewhere. I also remember that the head here, like most of this is symmetrical. Like you can see, like it's mirrored. Like the beard is kind of just mirrored. It clearly doesn't mirror from here. Like these aren't exactly the same, but from here it's mirrored, right? Like this is the same ear and stuff. But I like that I gave it a subtle non-symmetry right in the edges. Like I don't know why I did that, but it looks so good because like the chin is not a perfect mirror image. It doesn't mirror until you get out to this area. And then the same up here. It's almost like a little bit of a side part. Insanely good detail. You can see that it's mostly mirrored, but just like a little tweaked or twisted or something. So it's not a perfectly mirrored image. Like that looks really good. I'm sold, dude. I'm doing some good work. So this is Baron Zemo and Baron Mordo, which actually looks pretty good. I really like the color work on this. This is actually pretty nice. I'm sure I recolored that Baron Zemo energy effect to be more gold to match, but this looks pretty natural. Yeah, I like that a lot. I don't remember this one very well. This is Atuma and Destroyer. Looks pretty good. Just adding like the kind of Atuma costume elements to flare up the head and the chest. And then this sword, I don't think is the normal Atuma sword. I don't remember, but I remember this coming from somewhere else because again, we had that same perspective problem I talked about earlier with Hulkling. So I grabbed this from somewhere else. Anybody who knows, it might be a different Atuma, frankly. I'm sure it's like colored down, and it looks like I added a nice orange glow here too to get the lighting right, because this Destroyer always has really dramatic lighting. I can see I did the same here on the edges of this, but it looks bad. I don't like how I did that. Like I gave it an edge glow, but it's like too sharp. And I gave it the kind of teal edge glow over here because this side is always lit teal and this side is always lit orange because that's kind of the background up here is teal and the underlighting is orange, but it doesn't look good on the edges. So this is Star-Lord and Beta Ray Bill. I mean, Beta Ray Bill's head, and he's holding a hammer. I mean, that's something. It doesn't seem that clean or elegant to me. A head looks a little big, maybe, but. All right, so next up is Aranya with Human Torch, obviously. This looks pretty good, dude. This Human Torch ones are always like a little bit of work because you got to match up all the little flame elements to fit the various silhouettes and stuff, but they always look pretty good, I think. Like it's easy to get the orange to jump. A nice bold color. The flame adds a lot of depth and energy to it, so. Yeah, Arishem holding Blob. This is cute. Arishem's so hard to work with, particularly in the base art. Like, you just can't transform it well. So making him hold characters that look tiny is very funny. Blob's a good choice. I like that a lot. This is Arishem and High Evo. So just a bit of a recolor on High Evo. Make him hold some planets. This weird, like, chest thing. It's, like, pretty central element to Arishem. I remember it being very hard to add in here. It looks like I probably hand drew some of this to make it fit. I mean, it looks okay, but really a lot of work. This color match, too, is not really all that perfect, but you do your best. It looks pretty good. I think this video did well, if I recall. This is Anti-Venom and Tribunal, obviously. So really, this is just Anti-Venom's body. I didn't do anything there, it looks like, but we just added in the Tribunal head, recolored, gave it the glow of Anti-Venom's orange eyes, and he's holding that galaxy. I keep adding this galaxy to the hands. Like, maybe it helps tell the story a little bit, but I don't know. Every time I look at it now, it looks unnecessary to me. Like, I think the lack of a neck and the Tribunal hood is more than enough to convey the idea. I think we don't need this. What do you guys think? I think we don't need it. Okay, so this was a weird one. I remember just having nothing to work with on this video. I was like, man, there are no good characters. This is Red Guardian and Scorpion, and the recolor on this is so weird. The, like, weird patches. Like, I had to like hand trace a lot of this. It just looks bad. The color works bad. Something weird's happening back here. It's just bad. I just really don't like this one. I think the video did okay, honestly, but it was doomed from the start, and it never got better, as I recall. Oh, I literally made this yesterday, so this was really fun. This was another one where I didn't have good characters to work with. I really wanted to showcase US Agent, but he's another one that's really hard to combine with anybody. So instead, I thought, hey, this is about countering Doombots. Why don't we have his shield just ripping the head off a Doombot? So that's exactly what I did. It's just base US Agent, but I thankfully, the art files in the game, the head is already disconnected from the Doombot. So it already has this nice little Doombot body with no head attached. I just went in and added wires and like sparks and stuff, and kind of the shape of like maybe a neck where it looks like it's like the sparks are where it detached from the neck. Show the sparks kind of happening, bouncing off the shield, and then the head sort of flying upward, it looks like, with some disconnected wires and stuff. These are honestly like from like Scorn and a Cerebro or something, and some more sparks to sort of convey the direction of the head movement. And honestly, it looks really cool. I think it's super funny. There's definitely some perspective problems back here. Like, this hand, like, how is it in relation to his leg? Like, it looks too small almost for being closer in frame, but you know, whatever. It gets the idea across. Also, this bullet's weird. Like, you can't get this bullet because it's connected to that layer. I could cut this bullet maybe, but anyway, I thought it looked pretty cool, man. All the sparks and stuff really had a lot. I was actually really proud of this. So this is a Anti-Venom Doctor Doom. So Anti-Venom's face, and just recolor to match, and then like all the spikes and tendrils. It actually looks pretty sweet. I do like that a lot. This is another one of those couple color swaps. We had the Rogue and the Gambit earlier. This is Iron Man and Rescue just color swapped, right? Like, Iron Man is blue, Rescue is red. It honestly looks pretty cool. I like it. This Ajax and Cyclops, obviously for like a toxic deck. So giving Ajax the color scheme of Cyclops. I love the detail of the X-Men belt loop down here. Like, hard to notice, but cool. And then the Cyclops Energy Blast. I'm a little sad the background's red on this. Like, it really makes the Energy Blast kind of bleed. Like, you can't see it that well. I can tell the lighting here is red, though, so I'm sure that's why I did it. But all in all, it still looks pretty sweet. Oh, this is Elsa and Agony. This one was so hard, dude. Like, Agony, again, these symbiotes are really hard to work with. I thought I could fit Elsa's, like, coat to Agony, but I really can't. It doesn't look that good. There's like weird hair stuff covering part of it. It kind of fits. It looks okay. The guns are cool, but it's also just like kind of too zoomed out, but you have to do that to make everything fit well. So I don't love it, but it was impossible. So this is Agent Venom and Iron Man. Again, I had to hand do this like eye pattern around the eyes, hand draw that every time. The glass shards from Agent Venom. I think there's something. Oh yeah, there's like a You can see here the little pouch I added, like belts and pouches, which you can't even see. What a pointless addition. And then this gun, I remember I had to track down a gun that fit the perspective, and then ultimately I replaced the hand altogether. Initially I was trying to find a gun that fit an Iron Man's hand, and then I just replaced the hand. You can see the hand's kind of haphazardly just attached there, which it doesn't look great in any like detailed element if you like really look closely, but honestly as a whole it looks kind of cool. Like when you zoom out, I honestly don't hate it at all. Agent Venom again with Thanos here. This looks pretty good. This might actually just be Agent Venom's head. I probably didn't have to draw that, so probably just did the chest, changed the coloring here, and of course kept the Infinity Gauntlet. Oh, this is sick. This is Agatha and Ghost Rider. So you know, Ghost Rider's head. I remember having to change the lighting a lot on this, which isn't done perfectly. You can tell it's like not that clean, but again, at a glance, it just makes it look much more fitting. I remember adding all the little flame elements to the chain was pretty cool. I don't think all of those were naturally there. Some of these look like they were, but I don't know. I remember doing something with flame and sparks in this one in particular, and then rechanging Agatha's orbs to, of course, look more fiery. So this is Abomination and U.S. Agent. It looks pretty cool, actually. Abomination you don't get to use much. Just the A-Bomb arms ripping through the cloth here, and then A-Bomb's head. I like that, dude. Actually pretty sweet. I'm surprised the arms fit that pose that well, but they seem to. Here's Cerebro and Captain Marvel again. This is not the real Cerebro, just me recreating a Cerebro. It still honestly does not fit her head that well. It is so hard to fit Cerebro heads on bodies. Oh, this one's cool. This is Deadpool and Juggernaut, of course. This is that 10% win rate deck. This one was really fun, like recoloring number one just to make it match Deadpool. But adding all these like guns and straps and stuff, and like the samurai swords and the daggers and all this was really fun. Little pouches and straps. I think these are all really from Deadpool. I remember I had to like extend the straps to be longer. You can tell they're like repeated and stuff, but nobody notices that. I think it's funny how the guns are clearly completely unusable. Like they're the size of his finger. How could he ever pull the trigger? But they're just there because that's what Deadpool has. The Blob and Infinite. Kind of weird with like the Infinite cloak and stuff. He looks Greek, but that's sure enough. That makes him look more like Infinite. I don't love this, but it's okay. Sasquatch and Gladiator. Yeah, this is pretty recent. I remember doing this one. I got little fur patches coming out. They look kind of weirdly placed and haphazard to me now in hindsight. Like I like that it tells the story of the Sasquatch a little better, but ultimately just kind of clunky looking. Kate Bishop and Green Goblin. I remember thinking this was pretty cool because the hands fit the pose pretty well of like holding a bow and arrow, and I like the idea of the acid arrow matching up with Green Goblin. I gave him Kate's glasses. Like this honestly looks kind of cool. It's not perfect. Like the fingers don't always line up well and stuff, but it's kind of a neat idea. I don't know that it really conveyed the combination of characters all that effectively, though. Like, that really looked like Kate, you know? This is Arishem and Doc Ock, obviously, which looks pretty good. Yeah, just like a recolor the face. It's kind of nice that the face is separated from the body, so the color match doesn't have to be as perfect. I think that's pretty sweet. Forge and Scarlet Spider. This one I remember was hard to make the hood fit well. And the face looks kind of weird. The hood looks kind of small, but it was like I didn't have good character choices, I recall. So I made do with what I had. It looks okay, but if you look closely, there's some wackiness there. Oh, and that's our final. We're done. Thank God. This took forever. This was so much longer and slower than I thought it was going to be. But yeah, that's our final one. So pretty cool, man. A lot of insights, a lot of memories here, dude. A lot of cool decks and a lot of cool thumbnails. I think that Howard the Duck one has to be my favorite. That's really, really cool. That one was really sick. But a lot of fun ones, man. A lot of good stuff. I'm curious what you guys liked the best. Which ones were the most eye-catching to you? Which ones were the most memorable? Which one was the ugliest? Funny, I said that right as we go past Leech. I could definitely see my improvements over time, though. I could see in old ones things I wouldn't do now or I would do differently. So it's fun to see a little bit of an evolution with these thumbnails. But anyway, this is probably my favorite part, honestly, of running this YouTube channel right now. So hope you enjoyed this look at all these thumbnails, and maybe we'll do this again next year. We'll make this a yearly tradition. See if the ones next year get even better than the ones this year. I hope so, but it all comes down to all the art and stuff that's available. So anyway, thanks for joining me on this crazy long journey. I hope you learned something. Hope you enjoyed this look and reminiscing. And Merry Christmas Eve. I'll try to get a video out for Bruce Banner soon. Stay tuned for that. Thank you much for watching, and I guess I will see you around.